Our next Dirksen winners really pulled off a remarkable feat. They did the research of earmarks in 2008 from 3,000 miles away in Seattle. So it really does not take being in Washington anymore to find out and to discover and to reveal what Washington is all about. David Heath and Hal Bernton of the Seattle Times used the internet to create their own database that matched up earmarks in a defense bill with the campaign contributions to local politicians and how they voted. Here's an excerpt from a Bill Moyer segment about their work.
Reporters David Heath and Hal Bernton have come to a tiny Washington town in pursuit of a big story.
My name is David Heath. I'm a reporter with the Seattle Times. I'm working on a story about you can't talk to the media. Okay. So you don't talk to the media?
Yeah.
Heath and Bernton are here in Bremerton, following a money trail, chasing down what are known as earmarks, the federal dollars that members of Congress slip into spending bills, often at the last minute, usually to benefit individuals, companies, or institutions in their state or district.
And what was it for?
What was it for?
They spent $1 million to lobby.
Earmarks are a perfectly legal form of political pork, and nearly everyone in Congress sponsors them. But as these reporters have learned, they're not always easy to track.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming David Heath and Hal Bernton.
Great, I get to follow an earmark speech. Any project like this is a team effort, and so I'd like to thank Hal Bernton and my editors, Jim Neff, Suki Dardarian, and David Boardman for their hard work and dedication on this project. And I understand there's some lobbyists in the audience and maybe some members of Congress. You can raise your hand if you want, but I suppose I should thank you as well for giving me something to write about. We set out to take a look at the relationship between earmarks and campaign contributions. And what we found was that 80% of the time, an earmark recipient gave a campaign contribution to a member of Congress. So let me put that in context. We have a system where lawmakers are doling out federal contracts to campaign donors. And we found some particularly egregious examples of earmarks. Speedboats that neither the Navy nor the Coast Guard wanted and were giving away. Helmet-mounted computer monitors that soldiers refused to use and the Army rejected. T-shirts that the Marines banned because they could melt in combat and seriously burn the troops. I was interviewing Senator Russ Feingold recently about his efforts to try to eliminate earmarks. And I was telling him the findings of our story, and he had an interesting response. He said, well, you know, that's a crime. And it took me aback for a moment because I sometimes forget, giving out government contracts for cash is actually illegal. And I know that lawmakers will say, oh, that's... That's not our intention at all. We're doing good stuff. I mean, we're bringing home the bacon just as the founders of the Constitution intended. But I hear from readers, I've heard from hundreds of readers in response to our writing. We've been writing for 2 years now. And I can tell you that they don't buy it. They're not buying it at all. They see the system as rigged and corrupt. Now, President Obama said during the campaign that earmarks are a problem but that they're a small part of the problem in Washington today. And I think in terms of sheer dollar value, he's right. But I can tell you that the readers that I've heard from who are outraged by this have a different view of it, and that is that this has caused them to lose confidence in their government, something that we really critically need right now, especially to get out of this crisis. So let me conclude by making the humble observation that earmark reform can be a critical step in restoring America's faith in their leaders. Thank you.
I just wanted to say a few brief remarks. First of all, David has a way of asking some pretty simple questions and pursuing them in a very obsessive fashion that I learned greatly from in my partnership with him. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I began my career way, way long ago with Jack Anderson as one of his lowly unpaid interns. I left 3 years later for the Northwest. I've been in the Northwest and Alaska ever since, and through these decades, it's been great to watch the growth of regional journalism, such as I've experienced at the Seattle Times with a bunch of just great journalists, great editors, as David Boardman has brought to the paper. My only remark now is that I really, really think it's such a great and precious thing what we've all achieved in journalism through the course of my career. I so much don't take it for granted now. I watch editors like David Boardman who want to think about stories all the time, and that's where their passion lies, and they're, of course, thinking about budgets. And I just want to say again how much I appreciate the support, how much I treasure the time that I've been at the paper, and just all that we have, and realize that I know now none of us take it for granted. Thank you.